Entering World of Warcraft with Dark Skills Introduction. www.zhaozuiyuan.com Azeroth. This is a game. This is a world. This is the youth of a million great lords. When Zhou Shen stopped serving in Azeroth, he unexpectedly came to this world where he had been fighting for 10 years. Becoming a child named Tyran Verdun. Along with him came the skill tree of the Diablo system. In the national server https://www.zhaozuiyan.com. Chapter 1. Goodbye, Azeroth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. January 24, 2023, an ordinary day. But for Zhou Shen, who was nestled in the room, this was an extraordinary day. Because a large online game called World of Warcraft is about to shut down its servers today. There are many games in this world, and almost every month new games begin to operate. There are also several games that close down. But for $1 million lord like Zhou Shen, World of Warcraft is different. It accompanied Zhou Shen for a full 10 years. It is a legend in the online gaming industry. For Zhou Shen, it is both a game and a world. Here, there are friends, comrades in arms, and his youth. This world was born out of a group of people who love gaming. Great for a group of people fighting in the world of Azeroth. In the end, it was destroyed by a greedy soul. When the news of Yi breaking up with Glassdregs first came out, Zhou Shen knew that the world was about to leave him. He should never return to this world again. Although recent versions of World of Warcraft have been filled with perfunctory and continuous updates, the world has become a backyard for fast food and studios. Some even say that Warcraft is dead. The heroes in this world have detached themselves from their own persona, making people no longer know them. Its originally epic plot has been completely altered. If the Horn of the expedition to Northrend brought it to its peak, then the story of the Shadow Realm is the end of this legend. But when it really wanted to leave, Zhou Shen's heart was still very sad. It was not just a game, but also the home of 1 million lords. The small bedroom has no lights on, only the fluorescence emitted by the monitor. The faint light, along with neon lights seeping through the window, seemed to have draped a layer of illusory gauze over this small room. Zhou Shen parked the only character in his nostalgic costume, the human paladin, in the heroic valley of Stormwind City. Then I stared at the statues of the 5 heroes on the expedition in a daze, time passing by second. He pulled out his friend list and sent a message to his last old buddy, Donga, through private chat. Goodbye. Before waiting for a response from the other side, the server shut down on time and returned to the login interface. Zhou sighed deeply and left that world with a lot of regret. However, the memories left in my mind are not magnificent equipment, beautiful mounts and pets, nor those powerful leaders in grand battles. But rather love the painting and wooden small war hammer in the family. It is Varian Urin's lonely back facing a group of demons alone. It was Rhea's Tassa who desperately protected that dragon egg. The powerful red dragon only left a charred body, and she redeemed her last hope with her own child. Yes, the world has left, but it has accompanied me through 10 years of lush years. With this in mind, Zhou Shen closed the client and took a look at Hearthstone Legend, which pays off my hard-earned money every month. This is a derivative game of World of Warcraft. Zhou Shen invested a lot of time and money inside. I still remember the joy of opening the golden super tube. The Sun Defender Talim costs 3.7, not the pure Jedrick. Talim can advance and retreat, and has both offense and defense, and the sentence Onmoro belongs to the Titan gods seems to be still in my ears. Hey, Hearthstone is also leaving him, and he can no longer watch a certain company 810975 pass the weekend. You can't sit casually at the Stone Stove Tavern either. Actually, his luck is quite good. I have produced many high-quality golden oranges, such as Frostwitch Gianna, Red Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, Enzos, except for the Golden Millhouse. The only regret now may be that the Paladin's profession, Orange Tyrion Verdun, was not gilded. Then Zhou Shen's gaze fell on a devil's icon. Diablo 2. The King of Destruction. He suddenly regained his composure and muttered to himself, "It's better to be alone." In this antique-level game, there is also a character called a paladin. And Zhou Shen's love for the paladin profession also began with this game. So he clicked on the game icon. He entered the game and stared blankly at a barbarian named Susu in the character list. Should he create a new character or choose a paladin and enter the name? Zhou Shen. Then he is ready to embark on his nostalgic journey tonight. Anyway, there is still a balance on annual leave, and as someone who cannot go home, they can fight for an entire night. Blizzard is truly considerate, as it has humanized the original Spring Festival event scheduled for the 20th to the 24th. Entering the old portal, Zhou Shen's paladin braved the heavy rain and killed zombies and furry mice. He quickly rose to level 2 and walked back to the log camp. He ignored Valif's task and instead walked over to open the public storage box. He remembered storing some low-level equipment and the return scroll inside, and as soon as he clicked on the public storage box, he heard the sound of the chassis increase. Hey, people are getting old, games are getting old, and this machine is also getting old. It seems like we need to replace it in a couple of days. He ignored it. There were several pieces of equipment in the public storage box, and what he saw first was a shield. Well, this new moon can have it. Then he placed his mouse on a small talisman next to the shield. Destruction of breaking small amulet staying in the item list has many additional benefits +7 all skills 100% higher chance of obtaining magical equipment. Click it up with the mouse, it looks like a coin. As long as you use it, this game will soon become boring. At this moment, the chassis screamed and then let out a loud bang. It's done, just replace it with a new computer as soon as possible. I couldn't make dumplings with my parents this year. Pain. Okay. Pain. His memories began to become fragmented, and pain filled his soul. He felt as if his soul had been pulled away by something and then entered a new space. As the immense pain in his soul subsided, a middle-aged man anxiously shouted in his ear, "Calandra, what's wrong with Tyran?" A crying female voice said, "Tyran went to practice horseback riding today and fell off his horse. He hit his head on a stone." The female voice continued, "It's all you, teaching your son the art of chivalry all day long. How many years have you been in charge of this family? Have you ever taken care of your son? He's already 8 years old, and the time he spends with you adds up to 1 year." The middle-aged man seemed to be silent and not speaking. At this moment, the door was pushed open, followed by a chaotic sound of footsteps. The previous male voice said, "Alton, thank you for your hard work." The man named Alton said, "Sir, Reverend Ethan Lean is here." At this moment, a friendly male voice came from Tirion. "Don't worry, I'll treat little Tyran right away." Tirion. Tyran. Is this World of Warcraft? Zhou Shen couldn't help but say in his heart, "Have I traveled? Is this Azeroth?" Blindly happy, countless tentacles suddenly flashed through Zhou Shen's mind, and a giant dragon covered in flames flew over from mid-air. Wherever it passed, the earth shattered, houses collapsed, and the nations turned into a sea of flames. Actually, Azeroth is not that beautiful. It is a world more terrifying than the sanctuary of Diablo. There is an average of 1 catastrophic event per year here, with countless monsters queuing up to destroy this newborn world. And mortals can never be safe. In the world of Diablo, there is at least Nefertian, also known as Nefertian. Even if the 3 demon gods are extremely vicious and cunning, they are all sent back to hell by Nefertian like cutting melons and vegetables. Even the powerful high-level angel Impress can only kneel in front of Nefertian. In World of Warcraft, humans can never master that powerful ultimate power. This is a world where heroes emerge, but when you wear your soul here, it's not as beautiful. At this moment, a sweet voice sounded in Zhou Shen's ear. "Welcome to Azeroth. The Netflix boot system has completed loading. Chapter 2. Nefertian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fortunately, the welfare of the army of travelers was not compromised. If it weren't for the system, Joshin really wouldn't know how he, as a modern person without the power to stand by, could survive in the troubled Azeroth. I estimate that if I go for an outing outside, I will be pulled by spiders and bats for breakfast. At this moment, Joshin felt a warm force enter his body. He felt as if he had returned to his mother's embrace, so he slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, the woman named Calandra walked over and hugged Joshin with both hands, saying, "My son, you finally woke up. I thought I had lost you. Promise me to stay away from your father in the future and not do those dangerous things again." At this moment, the humanitarian wearing a pure white pastor's robe said, "Tirion, Tyran is fine. I used a recovery technique and he may be scared. He needs to rest well for a while. Don't exercise too hard recently. I'll say goodbye now. Remember to come to me if you need anything." Zhou Shen looked at the familiar face of the middle-aged man, and a name was about to come out. Tirion Ferdin, a student of Alonso Fao, one of the first 5 Saints of Silver, and the great Lord of Hearthpeace Valley. Zhou Shen thought he was extremely familiar with World of Warcraft, but when he really came to this world, he found that it was completely different. The world from the first perspective is completely different from sitting in front of a monitor. More importantly, he has not yet fused the memories of this body. In this room, he only knows Tirion Fording, and he has heard of his wife named Calandra. He doesn't know anyone else. How to survive here is a big question. And the existence of that cultivation system cannot be known by others. This world has magic and ancient gods. The best way is not to speak until the relationship is sorted out. After all, this body is only 8 years old, and there are still waves of pain coming from the head. Calandra saw Joshin not speaking and her eyes were confused. She tightly hugged Joshin with both hands and said, "My son, why don't you say something quickly? It won't hurt your brain, will it? It's all your fault, Tirion." As his wife's anger was about to engulf him again, Tirion hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Calandra. I know the Archmage Antonidas of Dalaran. He must have a way. Let's wait a few days and see what happens. If Tyran continues to be like this, I'll take him to Dalaran." At this moment, a ding sound rang out in Joshin's mind. The gears of fate began to rotate. You changed your destiny, gained 5 points of world power, awakened the power of Nefertian, and gained 1 skill point and 1 attribute point. The attribute points are automatically added to your endurance. Endurance 24. 25. Your health has been increased by 10 points, and your resistance has slightly increased. You now have 2 skill points. Changed fate. Who changed their fate? By the way, it's my own. Since the father of this body is Tirion Fording. So his current name should be Tyran Verdun. And when it comes to Tyran Verdun, it is precisely that touching task. Love and family. This is a task that almost everyone has done, and it is also one of the most classic tasks in World of Warcraft. And it is a tragedy. This is a good start. What I need to do now is to understand my system and find ways to strengthen myself. Survive in this world and try to change those tragedies. Make up for those regrets in World of Warcraft. Save those who deserve to be saved, and at the same time send away those who deserve to leave. Watching his son endure the pain, Tirion Fording said, "Darling, let's go out first and let Tyran rest early. It will get better." Calandra gave Tirion a dissatisfied glance. While muttering something, he covered Tyran's blanket and followed Tirion out. Watching Tirion Fording and Calandra walk out. Lying in bed, Joshin couldn't wait to call out in his mind, "Is the system there?" "Here, Nefertian's guidance system is at your service." A light curtain appeared in front of Zhou Shen, very concise. It seems to have saved money, actually borrowing the style of Diablo 2. After taking a look, Zhou Shen immediately understood that on the left was an angel holding a red ball, which represented health. Half of this red ball was empty, indicating that it had not fully recovered. The display above is 56/120. That is to say, the maximum health limit of oneself is 120, and the demon holding the blue ball on the right represents the magic value, which is displayed as 95/95. Then he noticed a row of tags below, which were character status, skills, life skills, talents, tasks, and backpacks in order. Zhou Shen first clicks on the character status, a simple 3D character paper doll with character information presented before his eyes. Tyran Fordring, Level 2, Race. Nefertian, not fully awakened, /human occupation. Paladin Strength. 23 Agility. 21 Endurance. 25 Intelligence. 20 Spirit. 22 Armor. 42 HP 56/120 Mana Value 95/95 Camp. Alliance/Lordaran Combat Effectiveness Evaluation. Scum. This then Zhou Shen opened the skill bar again, and he was stunned. He saw a book in front of him with 4 tags. Defense Spirit, Attack Spirit, Fighting Skills, and Other Abilities. This is not a spell book for World of Warcraft, but a skill tree for Diablo 2. The 2 skills in the first row of Defense Spirit Chi are Prayer and Flame Resistance. When using the fighting skill, the 2 skills in the first row are Sacrifice and Paladin's first divine skill Heavy Strike. There are 5 mainstream practice methods for Paladins in Diablo 2, with the most being Blessing Hammer and then Double Hot Cavalry. There are also Shield Strike Cavalries that specialize in killing 6 bosses, as well as Heavenly Cavalries that have been modified from the Fist of Heaven, and finally Revenge Cavalries that specialize in revenge. Because in World of Warcraft, one may lose the equipment support of the Dark World. The best choice is to use a dual heat route with physical damage as the main focus and a shield-mounted route. Both of these routes require learning to strike hard. Now he has 2 skill points, so he tried to add a bit on the Heavy Blow. Heavy Blow strike the enemy with a shield, causing them to briefly faint current skill level. 8 damage plus 120% dizzying time. 2 seconds magic consumption. 2 is the damage so high? Why is it level 8? Zhou Shen suddenly thought of something. He quickly opened his backpack. Sure enough, it's the familiar 40 grid backpack. In the first compartment, there is a coin lying. Destruction of breaking small amulet quality. Legend staying in the item list has many additional benefits plus 7 all skills 100% higher chance of obtaining magical equipment. Sure enough, it's the talisman, it's also coming along. It was precisely because of it that the computer exploded, bringing Zhou Shen to the world of Azeroth. At that time, he was still thinking that if he could bring this to the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, the game would soon become boring. Now I see it. Well, I should bring a dozen. In this despairing world, this little talisman is simply a life-saving straw. It was originally difficult to survive without the equipment support of the Dark World, but now with it, at least the skill level can be greatly improved. Every skill level will bring huge benefits. Then he clicked on other skills, which recorded 4 skills. The first one is called Self-interest Self-interested. Active skill, instant 0.2 minutes cooldown, removes all movement restrictions and effects that make your body uncontrollable. The second one is Perception passive racial expertise, enhances your stealth detection ability. The third one is the Power of Nefertian. Nefertian Power, passive skill, awakening skill tree, reduces the impact of control skills such as fear, intimidation, etc. on you. And increase your attack and defense to hero level. Your attack will not receive any additional damage reduction, and you will not receive any additional damage either. There is a yellow line below. You are the noble Nefertian, no one can make you submit. You will eventually master the ultimate power of the world. The last one is a parry, which gives you a certain chance to withstand a physical attack when using a weapon or shield. It seems that one can learn skills from this world, and all the extra skills and talents brought by them are recorded here. Then Zhou Shen clicked on the life skills again. Let's not look here, there is only one skill inside. Gourmet. Food increases your buff effect by 10%. You are a standard foodie. It seems that no matter which world, mothers take good care of their sons. Chapter 3. Starting from today, I am Tyran Folding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In order to study his own system, Zhou Shen once again clicked on the talent option. The first 6 items have been illuminated here, which are perception, self-interest, and human spirit. Passive skill, spirit increased by 3%. Diplomacy. Passive skill, reputation acquisition speed increased by 10%. Weapon specialization. Passive skill, sword and two-handed sword, hammer, accuracy of two-handed hammer increased by 3. Neferim's power, passive skill, requires 5 points of world power. Above the icon is an arrow pointing to 4 question marks. Zhou Shen still remembers just now reminding himself to change his destiny and gain 5 points of world power. It seems that whenever he changes the fate of characters in the original world, he can gain the power of the world, and the power of the world will activate his talents. No wonder his character panel says that Neferim has not fully awakened. Then he clicked on the task option, and there was only one task on it: rescue, legendary mission. Azeroth is a world full of disasters and touching stories that happen every day. This world has chosen you. Neferim, the child of the world. Do you have the consciousness and responsibility to save the world? Do you want to make up for those regrets? Do you want to redeem those tragic heroes and your people? Rewards. The secret of the origin of the world. 2. Reveal the truth behind your journey here. 3. Unknown rewards. Zhou Shen looked out the window, surrounded by green trees and a house made of pure white stones shining brightly in the sunlight. Not far away, there is a knight from the Silver Hand Knights with a team of guards patrolling. Several robust farmers and their wives are busy. A few white clouds float in the blue sky, and a group of unknown birds fly away in a noisy manner. A refreshing breeze blew by, bringing a faint grain fragrance. Everything is so beautiful. The air is filled with warm energy, and they are eager to dive into Zhou Shen's body. It seems that the power of Neferim brings not only a powerful skill system from another world, but also the ability to control energy. Zhou Shen looked through the window at the world that seemed like a scroll. Suddenly, his heart twitched, and an energy infused into his soul. Tyran Verdun's memories merged with him. Yes. Accept the task. Starting from today, I am Tyran Fording, the Paladin of Neferim. I will fight my whole life to save this beautiful world. Any evil force will be shattered by the power of Neferim. Ding. Tyran Folding's memories merge with you, increasing your spirit by 2 points and your strength by 2 points. Obtain skills, Hammer of Sanctions. The Hammer of Sanctions, it is already the highest level. Instantly cast a Hammer of Light, causing your enemy to faint for 5 seconds. Powerful bricks, anything must be shut up. The most important thing now is to adapt to life in this world while strengthening oneself. Now Tirion Verdun has just returned with honors. These years have been the happiest time of Taylor Folding's life. After 8 years at the Dark Gate, 11-year-old Gianna will come to Dalaran to study, and his dear father will meet someone who will change his life, the Orcitrigue. In order to uphold his beliefs in the path of the Holy Light, Tirion Verdun refused to break his promise. But Tyran Verdun knew that he could not change, nor could he change Tirion Verdun's experience. It was a precious life experience for him, and he did not know when Tirion would meet that orc. He would eventually face the choice of glory, commitment, and family. So Tyran needs strength to carry this family while her father is away. Protect your mother and stick to your true heart. And wait until the Dark Gate for 20 years. The third war will begin. At this moment, in the original work, Tyran Folding, faced with the confusion of his future and the successive deaths of his comrades, lost his sanity, abandoned the flag of the knights, and chose to follow his teacher Ethan Lynn, the pastor who had just treated him. Joined the Blood Crusader and never looked back. Until the love and family mission unfolded, Tyran Verdun died on the way to meet his father. The person who betrayed Tyran Verdun was his deputy, which means he didn't have a true friend around him. In Tyran's view, Hearthpeace Valley is his home. But since my father was exiled and my mother passed away, there are no more relatives here. The education he received from a young age prevented him from integrating into the fervent Blood Crusaders. He cannot completely give up his glory. So the way out for Tyran Verdun now is this journey to Dalaran, and he must change his own destiny trajectory. There are several key figures there. The first one is the great mage Antonidas, who is the most powerful mage in Dalaran. The other one is Luo Ning, who will be ordered to rescue the Red Dragon Queen. This is an opportunity for him to have early exposure to the high-end combat power of this world. Of course, there is also someone in her who can seek opportunities to change their destiny. She is Gianna Prodmore, known as Princess Curtilis. This great mage experienced ups and downs throughout her life, and her emotional entanglement with the Crown Prince of Lordaran lasted until her expedition to Northrend. Once she can change her fate, she will gain a lot of world power, unlock stronger talents, and also seek a way out for the future. Only by participating in the Battle of the Gods at dusk can one gain recognition from the world and make contributions. Accumulate capital for future development and redemption. And what he needs to do now is to level up to at least 30 years before the Dark Gate, master the ultimate skill of attacking spiritual energy, master the divine shield, and elevate the enthusiasm in combat skills to a sufficiently advanced level. If there are additional skill points, Heavenly Fist is also a good choice. Faced with groups of undead and demon, Heavenly Fist can provide powerful assistance. Having planned for the future, Tyran Verdun immediately adjusted his state, enduring a headache and forcing himself to sleep. He has always had a big heart and does what he says. The next morning, Tyran Verdun woke up early and made the bed. Dress neatly and leave the room. Starting his morning exercise, he first ran around the walls of Hearthpeace Valley, then picked up Tirion Fording's training sword and began practicing swordsmanship. Thanks to his hero template, he is able to control his body very well, and his strength is different from that of his peers, allowing him to easily swing his training sword. At this moment, Calandra ran out of the room, grabbed Tyran Verdun's hand, and threw the training sword to the ground. He said, "Talon, my son, have you ordered yet?" He touched Talon's head with his hand. Tyran Folding instinctively wanted to avoid Calandra's hand, but he stopped and let Calandra touch his forehead. Looking at his mother who had already put on an apron, he approached Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and said, "Mother, I'm fine. I'm a man, and this headache is nothing." Calandra said, "Tyran, don't do these dangerous things again in the future. Your father will know his martial arts, glory, and holy light. You're still too young." Tyran Verdun listened quietly to his mother's nagging. At this moment, Tirion Verdun came out of the room and heard Tyran say he was a man. He had a smile on his face and said, "That's right. My son. I just saw your sword swing. You're just a natural warrior. At this age, you can defeat 3 of me." Taking a sneak glance at his wife, whose face turned black and was about to explode, Tirion Verdun quickly said, "Tyran, what do you think? Are you feeling better?" "Father, I'm fine, it's just a headache, and I feel like I've forgotten a lot of things. I don't even remember the names of many people," said Tyran Folding, getting used to the term. Calandra next to him immediately said, "Tirion, in a few days. No, you should take your son to Dalaran now and find the great wizard named Antonidas to show our son. This is a big deal. The holy light is shining. Fortunately, he still remembers us." Tirion Verdun quickly comforted his wife and said, "All right. I understand. Darling, please prepare today and I will take my son to Dalaran tomorrow. This journey is not close and will take several days. Tirion Ferdin went back to have breakfast with his wife and son, and then went on a tour of the territory. And Tyran Verdun was banned from using weapons by his mother and rested in the room. Tyran Verdun reluctantly went to Tirion Verdun's study and found a book called How the Paladin Was Tempered, and started reading it. Chapter 4. Late is better than never. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A fulfilling day passed quickly, and in the afternoon, Tirion Ferdin returned from his inspection of the territory and immediately went to the study to find his son. Faced with old Verdun, Tyran did not raise that famous question. Instead, he consulted his father on how to become a qualified paladin. Upon learning that to become a paladin, one must first train various combat skills. Once qualified, one will enter the Silver Hand training camp, where they will complete a 3-year training period and become a knight attendant. Then enter the service of the Silver Hand Knights, and finally receive the baptism of the Holy Light. Only those who successfully awaken the power of the Holy Light will be promoted to the rank of paladin. This process is necessary, but the time is too long. This is even fatal for Tyran Verdun. When he becomes a paladin step by step, he can only become a blood crusader. He said to Tirion Ferdin, "Father, if I awaken the Holy Light, can I join the Silver Hand early and become a paladin?" Tirion Ferdin said, "Of course, that's what we call apprentice paladins. We call these people awakeners. They are born with an affinity for the Holy Light. However, such people are very rare. Even the powerful Lightbringer Uther is not an awakener. I remember only my teacher Archbishop Theo is the awakened Holy Light of his own. He is a pastor and belongs to the clergy." Tyran Ferdin knew that Nefertian was a natural spellcaster according to the setting, and when he reached level 6 and mastered the Holy Light Bullet, he could find a way to have someone baptize him. Become an apprentice paladin in advance, then go to the Silver Hand Knights to train and find ways to establish achievements in order to make a difference in the upcoming Third War. The next morning, at the urging of his wife, Tirion Ferdin rode a warhorse with his son and began his journey to seek medical treatment in Dalaran. The father and son quickly walked out of the Fireplace Valley. Zhou Shen, it should be Tyran Folding, who is quite familiar with the Plague of the West. But now it is still a lush forest here, called East Wilder. This is divided into 2 parts, one part is managed by Stansom, and the other part belongs to Andohar. And Hearthpeace Valley is a valley in East Verde, now surrounded by mountains on all sides and fertile soil, making it the core grain-producing area of the entire kingdom of Lordaeron. There are large farms here. In the Third War, the food was contaminated by the plague transformed by the subordinate of Kel'Thuzad, Hilgai, on these farms, and Andohar was the food transportation center of the entire Lordaeron, where the plague began to sweep across Lordaeron. The father and son rode a horse and walked on the main road. At this moment, Tirion handed over a shield and a short sword hidden in his magic backpack to Tyran Verdun. These equipment are what Tyran begged Tirion to bring to him yesterday. As a father, Tirion Ferdin knew that his son longed to become a paladin like himself, and his talent was very good. He was already able to use weapons and shields. What he didn't know was that his son wanted to go to Dalaran, not just to treat his amnesia. Watching my son put on his shield and properly fasten his short sword. Tirion wore an old father's smile on his face. "Son, why do you hope to gain strength so much?" said the speaker. Tyran Verdun said, "Only by mastering power can we protect our loved ones and protect our people. I read a book yesterday, which said that our world is full of danger, with schools of mermaids to the north and trolls lurking in the mountains. The forest is filled with wild beasts and werewolves, while the underground world and the mine belongs to the dog-headed man. If I don't have the strength, how can I protect my mother's safety?" Tirion Verdun originally intended to say that you are still young, and the responsibility to protect your mother and the people lies with yourself. But thinking of being away all year round and fighting for the Alliance, I only owe my wife and son. Child, pursuing strength is not wrong, but never just pursuing strength. People are human because they have a kind and upright heart, and strength exists to protect the beauty of this world. Tyran Verdun nodded and said, I understand, Father. I will. Ding. Discovering Fairstone Farm. You have gained 200 experience points. Congratulations, you have been promoted to level 3. You have obtained a skill point. Your physical fitness has been improved. It was already noon now, and Tirion decided to take his son to visit John Fairstone, the owner of Fairstone Farm. John was Tirion Ferding's childhood friend and he later married Johnny Fairstone. When the servant invited the father and son into the living room, Tirion Ferding finally found out that John had gone to Andahul to discuss this year's food procurement issue. And the one who received Tirion was Janice, a beautiful woman wearing a blue long dress. She still looks very young now. That's right, this is the task publisher who is always better late than never, Janice Felston. She was killed by the plague and became a ghost, but still hasn't forgotten her husband and family. She asked the player to give her prepared package to her sister. And her sister also became restless and talkative. The terrible epidemic hurt many people. It changed the fate of many people, and at that time, only Prince Arthas of Lordaran and Archmage Kel'Thuzad were of concern to everyone. Who remembers the loving couple back then? Although Tyran Verdun is very young, he has the soul of an adult. He politely saluted Janice Firth, hello. Aunt Janice. Janice clearly very fond of the cute-looking Tyran Verdun. She happily grabbed Tyran's hand and said, Tyran has grown so tall. I heard your uncle say you were injured yesterday. Are you okay now? Tirion Ferding took the conversation and said, Tyran's body is fine. He has always been strong. But his head was hit and he lost some of his memories. He doesn't even know his childhood playmates and often has headaches. I will take him to visit the Grand Master of Dalaran this time. See if he can make him better. Janice said, poor child. Childhood memories are a precious treasure for a person. Losing them is really pitiful. As he spoke, he took out a pendant from his pocket. And give it to Tyran Verdun to wear around his neck. Ding, you have received a blessing pendant from Janice Felston. Janice's blessing pendant necklace quality. Excellent +2 endurance +2 strength equipment. Increase your hit rate by 1%. Zhaozuyuan.com discovery task. Late not prepared in advance. Janice really likes you and gives you his talisman. She hopes you can rediscover your childhood memories. But you know her future experiences. Do you think you should do something for this kind woman? When that deadly danger arrives, you can protect her. Do you accept the task? I accept it. Tyran Verdun said silently. Then he looked at Janice seriously and said, Aunt Janice, thank you. I think we will see each other frequently in the future. You can come to Fireplace Valley to see me when you have time. Janice smiled happily and said, what a sensible child. Tirion Ferding watched his son communicate with Janice like a little adult, and was also very happy. Suddenly, he thought of the two bear children of the McGraney family, and couldn't help but curl his lips. He is truly my Tirion Ferding's son, hee, poor old Moglini. Enthusiastic Janice quickly prepared a sumptuous meal and chatted with Tyran about many interesting things on the farm. There is a big wild boar called Gentleman near her house. Every time it steals grain from the farm, it will eat along the ridges of the fields one by one. Before finishing one long, never eat another long, and even continue to eat it the next time you come. It is very particular, always only eating the best, so everyone named it Gentleman. It is very strong and intelligent. Every time the sheriff of Lordaran comes to catch it, it runs into the forest to hide and never comes out. After the sheriff returned without success, it came out again to double the damage to Fairstone's crops. Gentlemen are really going too far. Chapter 5. Gentlemen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding, discovery task. Gentlemen. Gentlemen are too much. It plays a fierce prank on the sheriff of Lordaran every year, making Janice very angry and helpless. You are a foodie, and Janice is exactly a good chef. So you all hit it off. Task reward. Gentleman's dress and 20 battle net points, gentleman's formal attire quality. Excellent head plus 20 armor plus 5 endurance plus 6 intelligence equipment. Increases your spell damage by 15 points. God knows why gentlemen like this thing. Friendly reminder. War.net points can purchase some special, crazy, trinkets. Produced by the system, it must be a masterpiece. Accept the task. Tyran Verdun took on the task of killing that despicable wild boar, not because he was a foodie. And Janice's food is indeed very delicious. Father, this gentleman is really interesting. Why don't we go and have a good conversation with him, said Tyran to Tirion Verdun. Tirion Verdun watched as his son held his hand and gently shook it. My son has a cute little face with a smile. If he hadn't taken a sip of saliva, that would have been even better. Tirion Verdun smiled indulgently and said, all right, Tyran, after we finish our meal, I'll go talk to it over. Father, I also want to go, said Tyran Verdun. Tirion Verdun has experienced many great wars, but of course, he does not believe that a wild boar can harm his son under his protection. He thought for a moment and said, as long as you don't let your mother know. Janice watched the interaction between the father and son and smiled, saying, Sir, this is too much trouble for you. Be sure to be safe and not let little Tyran get hurt. Obviously, she also did not believe that the wild boar could harm a powerful paladin. But kind-hearted she still reminded Tyran to pay attention to safety. After instructing Tyran to return to the farm early to rest, Janice tempted her with delicious food. And John will come back tonight, he will definitely have a drink with Tirion. The father and son inquired about the gentleman's situation, and it often appeared on the north side of Fairstone Farm, which was adjacent to the mountain range, and the gentleman lived in a hidden cave. The father and son walked along the path in the farm towards the mountains, and by this time Tirion had already taken out his warhammer. And began to explain the knight's combat skills and the path of the holy light to Tyran. And Tyran Verdun quietly opened the skill book and highlighted the power aura in the attack aura. Power when enabled, increases the attack damage of you and your teammates' current skill level. 820 yards radius damage plus 110%. Tirion finished explaining the method of summoning the holy light and began teaching his son the skills of wilderness survival, such as how to hide his footprints, how to find water sources in the wilderness, and how to respond to sudden attacks. How to deal with injuries and blood stains. And he said that after going back, he should teach Tyran how to make and use bandages. Ding, through the careful explanation of Paladin Tirion Verdun, you have learned passive life skills. Wild survival, beginner, your perceptual ability has increased by 3 points, while your ability to resist diseases has also increased. With it, you can live longer than others. As they spoke, the father and son stood still at the same time, and Tyran Verdun raised his shield and drew his short sword. Tirion also raised a huge war hammer. At this moment, the evil wind on Talon's left is not good. A black shadow rushed out of the grass like lightning. This is a Lordaran wolf. In this world, not only are human physical fitness much stronger than humans on Earth, but even wild animals are more ferocious and stronger than those on Earth. These wild wolves will also be victims of the plague of the undead in the future, and they are called sick wolves. But now these wolves don't have that high level. Tyran Verdun's physical instincts overcame fear and raised his shield to launch a skill strike, heavy strike. Strike the enemy with a shield, causing them to briefly faint. Current skill level. 8 damage plus 120% dizzying time. 2 seconds magic consumption. Tyran raised his shield, although his movements were not standard and his reaction speed was delayed due to fear in the first encounter with a fierce beast. But this divine skill seems to be a shield attack technique, similar to the shield strike of a defense talent warrior, but it is actually a magic and has an additional 100% hit rate. The hungry wolf had already tilted its head to avoid, but it was still hit by a straight nose. This is equivalent to taking a critical strike. Originally, Tirion was ready to use the holy light to help his son. He thought his son wouldn't hit the wolf. After all, this was his first time facing a wild beast head-on. But the wild wolf's nose was hit hard. Having experienced numerous battles, Ferdinand is certain that it is a powerful combat skill. And it is a proprietary combat skill with a personal style. My own son is so young that he can comprehend exclusive abilities. This gives him great comfort. Tyran hit with a heavy blow. Taking advantage of the wolf's brief dizziness, he raised his sword in his right hand and slashed heavily. In order to stabilize the hit, Tyran did not greedily stab the wolf's neck, but instead slashed it towards the wolf's left front leg. The dizzy wolf was unable to dodge, and his left leg was immediately struck by the sword. His shiny gray hair was immediately dyed red with blood. It quickly retreated. Due to an injury to its left leg, its movements slowed down and its dodging movements began to deform. Seeing that his son had the upper hand and was clever enough to attack the opponent's leg, Ferdinand remained motionless, holding a giant hammer and guarding from the side. Tyran hit with a single blow and saw the hungry wolf retreat. He quickly put his shield in front of him and sought protection from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. He then pursued him sideways and swung his sword down again. The wild wolf learned from the previous confrontation that this little man's strength was not inferior to those robust farmers at all, and he was particularly cunning. Now it feels as if its nose is broken and painful. Seeing the little man strike with a sword, he quickly dodged and launched a counterattack as quickly as possible. Pound at Tyran's throat. After a round of attack and defense just now, Tyran gradually overcame the fear in her heart, and the man's blood in her bones was stimulated, but instead became excited. He watched the wild wolf pounce. Launch another heavy blow, with a loud bang. The attribute of must hit is really despicable. The hungry wolf let out a scream, gave up hunting, turned around and ran. Tirion immediately raised his right hand, and a holy light lit up. A magic war hammer hit the wild wolf's head directly, the hammer of punishment. Taking advantage of the wild wolf's dizziness, Tyran raised her short sword and hit the hungry wolf's throat with one strike, killing it. Tirion patted Tyran's head and said, "You are truly my son. Your use of that shield is really amazing. I am now certain that you will become a powerful and noble paladin. Child, you should use your powerful power cautiously in the future." Tyran suddenly received, "My son, on the day you were born, the entire forest of Lordaran was whispering this name, Alsace." The surroundings quieted down for a moment, and then the father and son burst into laughter. Happy laughter spreads far away. Tirion peeled off the skin of the wild wolf with a skinning knife. Then he said to Tyran, "Son, this is the prey you've caught for the first time. You can take it back as a souvenir. Father, I want to ask Alton to help me make a wolf skin mat for my mother. She always doesn't sleep well at night in winter," said Tyran. Chapter 6. Tyran and Gentleman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tirion patted his son's head and felt relieved, saying, "You have a conscience, kid. We need to speed up and find the gentleman as soon as possible, but we need to be careful. Wild boars are the most terrifying among wild beasts. Whether it's a wolf or a lion, they are not opponents of wild boars who go crazy. And these beasts will judge the strength of the enemy and ourselves before attacking, and will not easily prey on unfamiliar prey. Because in the wilderness, as long as you get injured, you will become prey to others. And wild boars are not. They not only have a keen sense of smell, but also often have a layer of stone armor on their bodies, with rough skin and thick flesh. As long as you provoke them, they will launch crazy attacks. I suspect this wild boar is likely a magical creature. What do you think, son?" Tirion asked. Tyran said, Yes, father, I also think this gentleman is likely a magical creature. As far as I know, the sheriff of Lordaran has been slacking off recently. They are not as diligent as before now. But the security officers have to go through the king's assessment, and their combat effectiveness is very strong. A gentleman who can escape pursuit multiple times must have wisdom, and I heard Uncle Sam next door say that pigs are inherently very intelligent animals. A book states that once some animals awaken to become extraordinary beings, they not only become smarter, but may also awaken some innate abilities, and wild boars are the easiest to learn skills like charge. Another thing is that Aunt Janice knew there was a great night leading us, so she reminded us several times to be careful. I think this gentleman may be very aggressive. Nefertian nodded and said, "Kid, you're right. I'll attack you head-on later. You find the opportunity and kill it. Also, don't underestimate any enemy." "Father, I want to give it a try. When I was fighting with that wolf just now, I had some ideas to give it a try," said Tyran. "Be careful then, I will protect you." Ding, you have discovered the Holy Light Barrier. Gain 300 experience points. Along the way, Tyran has gained a lot of experience by discovering new territories, and he will soon be promoted to level 4. At level 6, he can unlock new skills such as Holy Light Bullet and Disdain. Holy Light Bullet is a ranged skill, while paladins in World of Warcraft do not have regular ranged magic attack skills. It can not only attack enemies, but also heal friendly targets. Disdain not only enhances defense capabilities, but also provides additional defense bonuses to the core skill, the Divine Shield. This place is no longer within the scope of the farm and has entered the mountainous area. There are no artificially constructed roads left. Father and son are not talking. Tirion began to concentrate and prepare to provide assistance when his son was in danger. The road gradually became difficult to walk, and the afternoon sunlight fell to the ground through the dense canopy. As the altitude increased, the deciduous trees with wide leaves were gradually replaced by pine trees. At this moment, a cave appeared in front of us, and it was unusually quiet here. There is no chirping of birds, no other animals around, and no odor. The father and son are about to explore this cave. A strong wild boar. The gentleman has walked out of the cave and stood on the clean ground in front of the cave. Its body, about the size of a calf, carries a strong sense of oppression. It has 2 long fangs on its huge head, as if holding 2 daggers. Now it is staring at Tirion with wary eyes. Ding, discover the gentleman's villa and gain 100 experience points. Villa's Tyran immediately raised his shield, clenched his short sword in his right hand, and stood up in the way his father had taught him. His body leaned forward slightly. No wonder the reward for the mission was an excellent level helmet, which provided a full 6 points of intelligence. It seems that this thing is not for nothing. The gentleman is quite clever, and he has already felt that one of the 2 people in front of him is very difficult to mess with. Tirion was also surprised. He didn't expect the gentleman to be so big, and his 2 red eyes not only flickered with fierce light, but also carried some cunning that wild beasts should not have. It must have killed people, and it really has wisdom. Tirion wants to remind his son to let himself end it. Although this gentleman is very powerful, for Tirion, who has experienced many battles, he believes he can quickly take it down. He looked at his son, but saw that his gaze was clear and firm. He shook his head. Tirion doesn't spoil his son like Calandra, because men understand men better. His son has always admired himself, hoping that one day he can become a qualified warrior and a noble paladin. He also has his own persistence. Although the time he spent with his son was very short, he felt that his son was particularly mature. He was already a young man. So Tirion nodded with encouragement and increased his vigilance. Tyran is thinking about how to defeat the gentleman. Now the attention of the gentleman is focused on Tirion, and he has plenty of time to think. At this moment, the gentleman broke his composure and rushed towards Tirion. Tyran Verdun quickly approached the gentleman, ready to attack his buttocks with a sword. But Tirion said, "Be careful of Tyran." Tyran Verdun's movements slowed down a step. At this moment, the forward-charging gentleman suddenly turned around, its body showing a faint blood color, and then its huge body rushed towards Tyran like an arrow. The gentleman collided head-on, and Tirion immediately prepared to use his protective blessing. At this moment, Tyran Verdun suddenly raised his shield. Tirion felt that his son was scared, but the next moment he was stunned. He saw a huge holy light war hammer forming in mid-air and fiercely hitting the gentleman's huge head. Hammer of Sanctions. The iconic skill of the paladin, the basic Hammer of Sanctions, can knock an enemy unconscious for up to 3 seconds. But the Hammer of Sanctions did not cancel the gentleman's charge. Tyran immediately raised his shield and with a loud bang, Tyran was knocked to the ground. If the gentleman had not hit the Hammer of Sanctions, it would have taken this opportunity to kill Tyran. Now it could only watch as Tyran stood up and adjusted his posture, then raised his sharp short sword and cut a deep wound on his left front leg. Tirion immediately shouted, "Good son. Be careful, the time for the Hammer of Justice is coming." A beginner may not be able to control the rhythm of the battle well. But the gentleman did not launch an attack after Tirion counted to 3, and waited for him to count to 5. Talon has already swung 2 swords, and it was only after seeking help from the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com that the gentleman regained his mobility. Its blood-red eyes were already completely red, and its wild instincts helped it overcome the pain in its leg. Ignoring the bleeding left front leg, it rushed towards Tyran again. One person, one pig engaged in a big battle. Although Talon's Hammer of Sanctions was incredibly powerful, he was still small and his attack power was not high enough. Fortunately, there is this board brick that makes people unconscious for an extremely long time. Whenever the gentleman charges, Tyran uses a hammer to make it unconscious, occasionally launching heavy blows. The brief coma makes the gentleman's attack stun and stun. Tyran's stamina began to decline, and his arm was also pierced by the gentleman's fangs, bleeding profusely. Fortunately, he immediately used a heavy blow to make the gentleman pause due to a brief coma. Tyran decided not to hold his hand anymore. He activated the aura of power, and his body emitted a milky white holy light. Then, a golden short sword-shaped halo appeared from Tyran Verdun's feet and rotated counterclockwise around him. The power aura of level 8 has increased his attack damage by 110%. Tyran immediately felt a powerful force flowing into his body. He gave up his defense and continued to use heavy blows. His right hand's short sword changed from cutting to piercing. Perhaps the clever gentleman also felt the arrival of the crisis and gave up avoiding it. Once again activated the charge skill, Tyran no longer used the Hammer of Sanctions to control the rhythm, but instead raised his shield and launched a heavy blow, while also charging towards the gentleman. The skill that must be achieved once again gave him an opportunity, and with the impact, Tyran extended his short sword from the edge of the shield. With a scream of agony, the gentleman, with a sword in his neck, turned around and ran towards the cave. The blood gas of pig-like organisms has always been strong, with large streams of fresh blood spurting out from wounds. Tyran immediately launched the Hammer of Sanctions and knocked the gentleman unconscious. And he added 2 more swords, ending its pain. And then he sat down on the ground all over. Chapter 7. Tyrion's Teachings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tyrion Verdun walked over and helped his son. He knew that his son was exhausted. He not only awakened the power of the holy light. I also successfully grasped 2 professional abilities. Most importantly, at the age of 8, he overcame his fear. Faced with a stronger gentleman than him, he did not back down, but instead calmly responded. He has the maturity and sophistication that he shouldn't have at this age. I think I have been fighting outside for years, and my son lacks the care of his father, so I couldn't have a happy childhood, but I learned to face difficulties alone. Tirion took out the bandage and treated the wound for Tyran. Tyran asked, "Father, why don't you use the holy light technique?" Tirion solemnly said, "Child, you make me proud of you. You are so young, you can do this. You just awakened the power of the holy light. You don't understand it yet. The power of the holy light of the paladin is more domineering than that of the priest. It can cause pain while treating injuries. So we only use the holy light technique for treatment in critical moments also, son, we cannot let power influence our lives. Our paladins crave power to fight against evil. It is not our own desire for power. Remember, my son. It is a strong will that makes you strong, not the holy light that makes you strong. The skills you have comprehended are all very powerful, you must master them well." "I understand, father. Let's see what the gentleman has left us, right?" Tirion also smiled happily. It seems that touching corpses and looting war spoils is something that makes everyone happy. Next, the father and son processed the body of the gentleman, harvesting a piece of animal skin and 2 huge fangs. Tirion also cut off the good meat from the wild boar and put it in a magic backpack. "Prepare to barbecue with John at Fairstone Farm." Then Tirion said, "Son, do you remember the eyes of a gentleman?" Tyran said, "Its eyes are red, and father, you said it must have killed people." Tirion said, "An old buddy of the knights is a dog trainer. He once told me when he drank too much that even bears or wild boars that have killed many intelligent creatures turn red in their eyes. I don't know if it's true, but the red-eyed bear and wild boar are both very wild and will attack wildly when encountering people. Very dangerous. Father, let's go and take a look in the cave." Tyran thought of something and didn't say anything more. Tirion nodded and walked into the cave first. Wild boars are usually very dirty, they don't care about hygiene. But the gentleman's hole was unexpectedly clean. There is a pile of hay at the bottom, obviously a gentleman's bed. On the other side is a pile of miscellaneous items, but there is not even a bone. Tyran put on the gloves her mother had prepared for her and rummaged through the pile of clutter. Ding! Congratulations on completing the task. Gentlemen, congratulations on reaching level 4. You have obtained 1 skill point and currently have 2 points remaining. You have obtained 20 battle net points, and the Nefertian cottage has opened. You have received task rewards. Gentleman's formal attire quality. Excellent head plus 20 armor plus 5 endurance plus 6 intelligence equipment. Increases your spell damage by 15 points. God knows why gentlemen like this thing. 100% acquisition of magical equipment attributes gives you additional benefits. A powerful waistband for gentleman quality. Excellent belt plus 40 armor plus 6 endurance plus 5 intelligence equipment. Increases your attack strength by 15 points. You can carry 8 more bottles of therapeutic potions, you deserve it. Tirion was surprised to see his son obtain 2 high-quality magical creations. In this world, killing some extraordinary creatures does provide a chance to obtain some magical items they possess, but the chance is very touching. Is this a burst of luck? Tirion said, "Good luck, kid. But this hat is really nice." Tyran knew that as a senior professional, his father could not use such equipment. He happily equipped his belt on himself, not to mention that although its properties were a bit strange, it was quite beautiful. It was a blue belt with a shiny crystal inlaid on it. Its appearance indicates that the acquisition of magical equipment by the small amulet increases by 100%, which is really good news. As for that hat, its attributes are very good. It is an equipment that enhances spell damage, and it is a piece of cloth armor. But its design is a red wizard hat with a bow, which is particularly suitable for mages, priests, or sorcerers. Of course, sorcerers have not yet appeared in the alliance. Tyran threw it into her magic backpack and said, "This can only be kept as a collectible." Tirion said, "Son, if you meet the girl you like, you can give it to her. Believe me, Dalaran has many young female magic apprentices. This hat is very beautiful and will be loved by many people, Tyran pouted. Tirion is a serious paladin. Of course, compared to Tirinas and Migraine, Tirion can be considered an enlightened father. He picked up a copper collar, obviously left by a poor dog, with 2 letters J on it. Tirion said, "This may be Fingal, the Janus night dog. It's very famous." "Well, because it's particularly lazy and can eat well." John had to buy another hunting dog called Norma, but Fingal's temperament changed drastically. He started to work hard and patrol the farm with Norma. Later, he disappeared. Now it seems like he was eaten by a gentleman. Okay. Let's take this back. It seems there's nothing more. Tyran stood up and prepared to leave, but Tirion walked over to inspect the gentleman's haystack and took out a doll from inside. This doll must have been very beautiful back then. Now it has lost one hand. But it is still well preserved. That's terrible. Let's go back and inquire about it. Let's see whose it belongs to, Tyran said. Tirion nodded and said, "Son, don't rush to draw a conclusion yet. Let's go back and ask carefully. This time I'm going to Lordaran. I think I should visit my old friend Uther. If these sheriffs take responsibility, this won't happen. Father, when we return to Hearthlace Valley, we should also gather the Knights of the Silver Hand and organize a team to clean up the nearby forest," said Tyran. "Okay, son. I will do it." Actually, Tyran had a selfish heart. As long as Tirion follows his followers, it is possible to change the outcome of that duel. The two of them put away their dolls and then accelerated their pace towards Fairstone Farm. As soon as he arrived at the entrance of the farm, a sturdy middle-aged man walked out of the room, gave Tirion a hug, and then vigorously patted Tyrion's shoulder. "Tirion, it's great to see you again." "Yes, John. I have been away from my hometown since the Second War and only recently returned. We haven't seen each other for several years." John saw Tyran and said, "I heard Tyran was injured a few days ago. Is she okay now? What's going on?" "She's injured again." Tirion said, "His body is completely fine, but the stone hit the back of his head, causing him to lose some memories. Sometimes he even has a headache all night and can't sleep. This time, I'm going to take him to Dalaran to find a great mage to check him out. As for these minor injuries, they were the result of a fight he had with the gentleman. A few people walked and said as they quickly entered the reception hall. Tirion took out the fresh pork and handed it to Janus, saying, "John, find the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. This is fresh wild boar meat. I haven't eaten the meat of Lordaran wild boars for a long time." Janus said, "Did you kill the gentleman?" "Yes, madam, it's my son, little Tyran. He personally killed that wild boar. It's really big. It even awakened to become a magical creature, but my son still killed it. He's a great young man." Speaking, he took out the gentleman's 2 huge fangs and handed them to John. For Tirion, he never showed off anything, but his son was a different story. John touched his fangs and said, "It's really big. And it's very hard and sharp. Thank you, little Tyran. You're the only one that harms Fairstone Farm. This wild boar not only frequently harms crops, but also harms several farmers." "Uncle John, have any children gone missing recently?" said Tyran, folding. "How did you know?" 3 months ago, little Lena disappeared, and her grandmother went crazy looking for her, but there is still no clue." Tyran took out the doll with one arm missing and handed it to John. At this moment, he suddenly felt a bit sad and said, "We found this in the gentleman's cave. I think we should not tell her grandmother. Let's wait until the end and tell her. I have already killed the gentleman for her." Tirion was happy that his son could consider others and said, "Not bad, I'll leave it to you." John took the doll and asked Mrs. Janus to help him put it away. "The gentleman is very big, we have a lot of meat. We will send some meat to that old lady later. Let her also taste it, John nodded. Lena's matter piqued a few people's interest, and after chatting for a while, Mrs. Jenness quickly cooked a sumptuous table with the help of the cook. Of course, roasted wild pork is indispensable. Everyone ate hastily and then rested. Chapter 8. Lake Lordamir. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, Tirion and Tyran woke up early, and Tyran began practicing swordsmanship without moving. After having breakfast, the two of them said goodbye and left. Janice kept delivering it to the door and reminded Tyran to come back to the farm when he had time. She can cook a big meal to entertain him. As for the collar, it is indeed Fingal's. This incident made Mrs. Jenness very sad for a while. The two bid farewell to Fairstone Farm. Riding a warhorse, he quickly passed through the barrier of the undead in later generations. Then, passing through the Barney Farm and the famous town of Breel, what left a deep impression on Tyran from Barney Farm may be the hollowed-out tomb and the saddle left behind. Some people were ruthless when they were young. Then the father and son quickly saw the towering and majestic city of Lordaeron. This is the political and economic center of the entire kingdom of Lordaeron, as well as one of the busiest big cities in the eastern continent. Tyran still remembers checking information during his previous life playing World of Warcraft. Lordaeron has a population of approximately 1.5 million, of which at least 1/10 lives in the city of Lordaeron. This is a true metropolis. This is the glory of the Menethil family. However, the two did not delay in the city of Lordaeron, and Tirion Ferdin directly visited Uther with Tyran. This elderly paladin has a serious expression, giving people a feeling of rigid and majestic. Tirion only mentioned the matter of being a gentleman. After chatting with Tirion, Uther immediately prepared to convene a meeting of the sheriff. It seems that Uther is a person who does whatever he says. The two of them registered their itinerary. Then they rushed to the dock by Lake Lordamir, ready to take a boat and visit Dalaran as quickly as possible. Tirion, after all, is a well-known paladin with the status of a great lord, and of course, he did not encounter any bloody plot of being difficult by the guards. The father and son quickly boarded the boat. Lake Lordamir is located south of the city of Lordaeron, and crossing this lake leads to the magical kingdom of Dalaran. It is located between the Silver Pine Forest and Ultraland. And Lake Lordamir is very large, with an island called Fenris Island in the center of the lake. In her past life, Tyran played with an undead priest during the Vanilla Age and had previously worked on missions on this island. It seems to be called a surprise attack on Fenris Island. There are many monsters on the island, especially mermaids, and if their level is low, it is easy to drive trains. There are no natural disasters on the island in the middle of the lake now, but there are indeed fish people. This kind of creature has always been tenacious in this dangerous world, and it is everywhere. I can't even finish killing. However, now is the strongest period of Lordaeron, and the guards will regularly eliminate these fish men. Talon sat on the boat, staring blankly at the blue waters of Lake Lordamir, pondering her thoughts. He will soon meet the Archmage Antonidas and the powerful red dragon Crassus, as well as the famous prince Kael'thas, the Sun Chaser. His heart was filled with excitement. Seeing the legendary hero made it difficult for him to calm down. If there is an opportunity to change their destiny, they can gain a lot of world power. At that time, you can unlock more Neferim power. Only in this way can I have the ability to change those tragedies and save the people of Lordaeron. Redemption of this troubled world. Tirion Verdin looked at his dazed son and reached out to touch his head, saying, Tyran, when you're better, let's find time to go on vacation to Keldaran, where there's a great painter named Riverlay. I'll ask her to draw a family portrait for us then. Great, father. Mom will definitely be happy. Yes, she loves Kildaran's afternoon tea the most. Tirion Ferdin took out a small warhammer from his magic storage bag. This warhammer was made in the shape of Tirion Fording's weapon. This woodcarver is not very good. But it reflects a gloss on it, obviously someone often plays with it. Tirion placed the small warhammer in Tyran's hand and said, "My son, you've always wanted to be a paladin like me since you were young. Fight for Azeroth. I've wanted to give it to you as a birthday gift for a long time." At that time, the orcs were attacking Hilbrad, and their sorcerers had many malicious spells. People die every day. In a battle, I saved an elf ranger and she gave me a small piece of hard wood. At that time, I didn't care, but later Antonidas saw this piece of wood and told me that you were lucky. This is the branch of the world tree. It is not only particularly hard, but also contains powerful magical energy. Until I met Brian Bronzebeard, he helped me carve this small warhammer. Now I'll give it to you. You will surely grow into a powerful paladin. I hope you can grow up happily, marry and have children in the future, and live well. Tyran folding solemnly took over the small warhammer, which was much smaller than the warhammer in previous games and more like an accessory. Get a warm and moisturized piece. A gentle energy flowed into Tyran's body. Ding! Congratulations, change your destiny, gain 25 world power points, and 2 skill points. Your Neferim power is further awakened. Congratulations on awakening your racial abilities. Neferim's affinity. Enhance your charm and make it easier for you to win the favor of native Azeroth creatures. Well, I'm not criticizing you for being ugly before. It's not that you're afraid of becoming a single dog. Really, your world power has reached 30 points, unlocking new talents. Neferim's punishment. After each attack, you deal an additional 1/10 of the true damage of your attack power. Persuade people with reason. Real damage is effective on targets other than yourself. Congratulations on obtaining blessings from Tirion Verdant Covenant quality. Legend unique, bound plus 12 endurance, for each level you level up, increase your endurance by 3 points, equipment. Your attack increases the chance of dealing a fatal blow by 2%. Zhaoshuyuan.com equipment. Every time you attack, there is a chance to trigger the blessing of the world tree, improving your attack accuracy. When you accumulate 7 times, it is immediately released, generating a magical blade to perform an additional attack on the target. Before triggering the effect, each attack will refresh the precise duration, use. Every time you attack, you must hit. When triggering a critical strike, it will deal 300% weapon damage. Lasts for 5 minutes. Cool for 2 hours. On the handle of the warhammer, there is also a row of crooked orange handwriting. Kunkuno's sister, the old father of thieves. Brian Copper Whisker, congratulations on reaching level 5. You have obtained 1 skill point and currently have 5 remaining points. Tyran Verdant was pleasantly surprised, as this was something that was not present in the original world. This warhammer is a birthday gift from Tirion forwarding to his son. After Tirion was exiled, Tyran buried him in front of his father's grave. "Thank you, father," Tyran said sincerely. As a traveler in his 20s, it is difficult for him to accept a person from a different world as his father from the bottom of his heart. But looking at Tirion, who had just reached adulthood due to the hardships of war, his temples had turned white, and besides the strength of a powerful warrior, there was also a trace of fatigue on his face. However, more of it is love for one's own children. He watched his bloodline grow day by day, filled with a sense of happiness in his heart. He began to accept this great father from the bottom of his heart. If we say that in the years after the end of the war, with the company of his father and mother, it was the happiest time of Tyran Verdant's life. For Tirion Fordring, it was the happiest time of his life after enduring the flames of war. During this period, he and his wife accompanied their son's growth, and that painting is a testament to their happy life. However, fate will eventually send him to the crossroads. Chapter 9. Magic Kingdom Dalaran. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Father, tell me about the orcs, Tirion Verdant said to Tirion, holding on to the sacred covenant, blessings of Tirion Ferdin. Tirion Ferdin leaned against the boat, squinting his eyes slightly as the setting sun shone on his face, revealing a look of memory. Orcs come from a world called Draenor. They are very tall and strong, and each orc warrior requires 2 to 3 alliance warriors to compete with them. The spellcasters among them are called sorcerers, and they use some vicious spells that we cannot understand. Mages call that power evil energy. The orcs fight very crazily. And the paladin, it is my teacher, Archbishop Theo, who founded the profession to confront the orcs head on. In fact, it was a lucky thing that we were able to defeat them. At that time, the orcs began to besiege the city of Lordaran, and our defense line was in danger. However, their sorcerers did not appear on the battlefield. Later, when the war ended, they learned from the prisoners that it was the sorcerer King Gul'dan who betrayed the orcs. He took his plundering clan to search for miracles. Without the caster, Orgrim, the chief of the orcs, lost his last chance to defeat us. In the final battle of the Burning Plains, the great warrior, the last bloodline of Sorodin, Marshal Anduin Lothar, sacrificed himself. Tirion took over his responsibilities and we ultimately defeated the orcs, so the orcs are invaders of the other world. Are they all bad people? Said Tyran Verdun, taking advantage of the situation. Tirion Ferdinand said, Child, race cannot speak of glory, and we cannot make hasty judgments about different people. Tyran Verdun thought for a moment and said, Father, I think glory knows no race, but heroes have their country and people. Orcs are invaders of another world to the world of Azeroth, they kill our people, seize our land. Burn down our cities. Just in the kingdom of Stormwind, millions of people die from their attacks. And they slaughter many unarmed civilians. Although I don't know why they invaded Azeroth, I know that the world's resources are limited, and they are our enemies who want to seize our living space. I will not kill unarmed people, but I will never allow these aggressors to kill our people. Tirion Ferdin was taken aback for a moment. Obviously, he had never thought of the issue of war between the two worlds, nor did he have the idea that the essence of the Second War was the orcs plundering the native biological resources of Azeroth. What he saw and experienced were the pain and slaughter brought about by war. He spoke up and said, Tyran, who taught you all this? No one taught me. I have been reading in your study these days and have come across some information about the Battle of Stormwind. Yesterday, we went to battle with gentlemen, which is similar to the war between orcs and us. The wild boar is very gentlemanly, but it does not prevent it from killing poor Lena and harming Aunt Genesis' crops. If it weren't for a gentleman, maybe I could have played with Lena yesterday, and she would have grown up to become a warrior, mage, or farmer. She would also be a wife and a mother, but the gentleman ate her and there was nothing left. Speaking of which, Tyran Verdun's mood is a bit low. He raised his small face and looked at the shimmering lake Lordamir. Continuing. If we had arrived at Fairstone earlier, or if the sheriff could have pursued her relentlessly, then Lena wouldn't have died, and Fingal's love wouldn't have ended before it even started. If I hadn't killed the gentleman, or let him go because he was a gentleman among the wild boars, smart and brave, then maybe in a few years more Lena would have died because of my choice. Their hero, my enemy. This has nothing to do with justice and glory. The war between two worlds, as long as it does not violate human nature, will only have victory or defeat and choices. Tirion Ferdin remained silent for a while, and a proud smile suddenly appeared on his face, saying, Son. You are really my pride. It's amazing that you can think of something from such a height. I will definitely tell Moglini these words. I have always thought that his education for his son is too strict and rigid. After 2 years, when your martial arts skills improve, I will plead with my mentor Archbishop Fao to baptize you. Let you become a novice paladin ahead of time. So I can retire early, go home to accompany your mother, plant the land, and raise flowers. Tirion is not Mograine, nor is he Usher. His openness and magnanimity are unmatched by those two. And Tyran Verdun's words are laying the groundwork for the future. He hopes his father can make changes so that he can save some comrades and civilians who have passed away due to his depression. How great it would be if Tirion Verdun could step up when Kel'Thuzad releases the plague, and if Tirion Verdun could step up when the tragedy in Darlung County occurs. Time quietly passed through the conversation between father and son. At this moment, the captain walked over. A military salute was given to Tirion Verdun. "Lord, Dalaran has arrived." Tirion Verdun replied. Patted his shoulder and said, "Old buddy, we need to rush to Dalaran. Be careful when you go back, don't be electrocuted by the fishman shaman." Then the two men burst out laughing at the same time. Farewell to the captain. Tirion Verdun rode his warhorse again and brought Tyran Verdun to the magical capital of Dalaran. Tirion Verdun couldn't help but sigh, the city walls here are still so tall. Just as high as the pride of the wizard master. Tirion Verdun handed the official proof of Lordamir to the goalkeeper. Then I walked into Dalaran. Dalaran is both a city and a country. In his past life, Tyran loved this place very much. At that time, there were several areas here, including the Krasis platform, the Sun Sider Temple, the Antonidas Monument, the Magic Business District, the Violet Castle, the Silver Territory, Ruin Square, Sunset Square, and the Violet Prison. There are wizard towers all over here. The towering wizard tower is adorned with magical gemstones, showcasing the wizard's mystery and luxury. Of course, there is also the Dalaran sewer. At this stage, there is no Krasis platform, nor will there be the Antonidas Monument. Because this great mage is still alive and well. Tirion Verdun walked all the way, introducing the city to his son. Then the two arrived at their destination, the Violet Castle, where Tirion met the gatekeeper, explained his identity, and asked him to help make an appointment to visit the Archmage Antonidas. Then the two of them went to the Hero's House Hotel near the commercial district, and the father and son decided to stay here recently. In the evening, Tirion Verdun first took Tyran to a restaurant called Magic Honey for dinner. Now in Dalaran, even in the evening, the commercial area is bustling with people and a constant flow of people. There are humans here, and there are high elves in the book garden www.zhaozuan.com. They have not yet changed their names to blood elves, and most of them are handsome and beautiful, but have proud personalities. Tyran also saw a goblin. Tirion reminded him that goblins are a greedy race who do business with everyone and do everything for gold coins. Their catchphrase is, "Time is money, my friend." After finishing their meal, the two of them walked along the road towards the hotel, admiring the buildings on the roadside. The tallest building in Dalaran is the Violet Castle, which has many magical towers. Tirion Verdun pointed to a tall magic tower and said, "This is the magic tower of the great mage Krasis. He is a wizard who has recently gained fame. It is said that he is knowledgeable and friendly to young apprentices and children. So many magic apprentices want to become his students. If he is here, we can also visit him. I heard from my old friend that in recent years, Dalaran has started inviting some excellent young people to study in Dalaran. Not only magic can be learned here, but mysticism is also a compulsory course for spellcasters. Son, although you are already excellent, it's not bad to learn more. I hope you can also be invited. I will help you. Then you can take courses in mysticism, magic principles, history, and of course etiquette." "I feel like I'm already very polite," said Tyran Verdun. Tirion Verdun laughed heartily and said, "My son, you really know how to tell a cold joke. Are you sure you're not talking about your super hammer of punishment? I don't know why, but I feel like you're different today from before. You give people a very warm feeling, making them want to get closer to you involuntarily. This should be the power of your awakened holy light. This feeling reminds me of Tirion. His holy light is also unique." Chapter 10. Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tirion Verdun, who was joking with his son, was unaware that this was the impact of the awakening of Neferim's power on his affinity. Tyran Verdun certainly dared not tell him. At this moment, Tyran looked at the high spire of the magic tower of Archmage Krasis and the beautiful magic gemstones embedded on it. thinking about how to get close to this great mage and then come into contact with the guardian dragon. At this moment, Tirion Verdun suddenly said, "I think I've met an old friend. I need to say hello to him, but I need to observe first if he's alone now. Wait for me." In fact, Tirion Verdun is very confident in Tyran. One is that his son is young and mature, and the other is that his skills are really unique. Although he may not win, it's difficult for you to harm him in the short term. Tyran Verdun said, "All right. Father, go ahead, I'll wait for you here." After Tirion Verdun walked away, he began to look left and right, admiring the beautiful scenery of Dalaran. Just then, he suddenly felt a chill behind his back. Human perceptual talent is inherently high, and its enhanced perception provides a sharper perception. So he let out a meow, a malicious transformation technique. As soon as he turned his head, he saw a dwarf. The purple light in his hand had just dissipated, and Tyran Verdun felt a chill in his heart. Oh no! Now someone is causing trouble in the second highest density of mages in the world. He is mentally prepared and ready to launch a heavy attack immediately after the transformation spell ends, hoping to withstand the next apologies. But nothing happened. That dwarf actually made a face at him. And then disappeared in a flash. Damn it, how could I forget it myself? Dalaran has a sheep transforming dwarf, no, it's a cat transforming dwarf. This little dwarf is called Little Goblin. Magic Wand. He often plays pranks in Dalaran, and many players will be turned into sheep by him. Now it seems that he is better at becoming a cat. Tyran Verdun looked at his furry front paws, wanting to cry without tears. When I change back, I will definitely treat you to a big brick. At this moment, he suddenly heard a pleasant voice. This cat is so beautiful, wow. A puppet cat. This is the most beautiful cat I have ever seen. Then Tyran felt like she was being held up by a pair of chubby little hands. Due to the significant change in body shape, he felt a bit uncomfortable. Then he was lifted up high into the air, and in front of him was a little girl with a beautiful little face, long blonde hair, and a pretty and playful little nose. She is wearing a princess dress, making her look like a doll. Then a sweet breath penetrated Tyran's nose. At this moment, the little girl who picked up the white puppet cat changed her position and let the puppet cat lie in her arms. And he reached out his chubby little hand, touched the white puppet cat's fur, and even rubbed it with his little face. At this moment, Tyran Verdun is awkwardly dying. I've been cursing Little Goblin in my heart, you deserve to have no friends. Did you also learn your cat changing technique from Nefertian? Is it as long as 5 minutes? Looking at the little girl's face, Tyran Verdun was stunned. This person is a bit familiar. Isn't this Gianna, the daughter of the sea? Why is she here? Isn't she only 11 years old when she came to Dalaran to learn magic? She should be just over 8 years old like herself. How did she come here? Tyran Folding greeted Gianna with a heartfelt greeting. At this moment, he suddenly thought to himself. Father said he saw an old friend and wanted to observe if he was alone. Wait, suddenly Tyran Verdun knows why Gianna is here. The man Tirion Verdun wants to see is called Darling Proudmoore. He is a naval admiral from Kurtiras. And when he was young, he had a romantic affair. He fell in love with a high elf mage named Gina Golden Sword. And gave birth to a child named Fana Golden Sword. Dylin is here to meet his friends as a high-level elf mage. But is it really good that you see the mother of an illegitimate daughter with your own daughter? If that's really the case, darling, you're going too far. And this is too awkward. Perhaps it was the holy light on Tyran's body that brought warmth to the young Gianna, perhaps it was the affinity of Nefertian that had an effect, or perhaps it was the beauty of the puppet cat that moved Gianna. This daughter of the sea actually plans to take away Tylan. She held Tylan to the path, when Tylan suddenly felt a hot and dark breath close to Jaina, and then Jaina had a dagger on her neck. the flashing cold light of the knife point against Jaina's neck. At the same time a hoarse voice sounded. "Don't move. Dear Royal Highness Princess. Otherwise I will kill you immediately." Talon's cat face is bewildered. Has Gianna ever encountered this before? "I don't know how to do it." "And who is this? Is it really good to kidnap the Princess of Kurtiras on the main road in the magical kingdom of Dalaran?" At this moment, a huge fireball suddenly shot into the sky. Look at the size of that fireball, it must be a great apology spell. Then Tyran Verdun saw the roadside guards and a rare breaker rushing towards the horse-faced mage who fired the flame blast spell. Not to mention that, the attention of those around us has been drawn. Dalaran prohibits the use of magic in public places. Anyone who violates this rule will definitely be invited to the Violet Prison to step on the sewing machine. But Tyran Verdun knew that the big deal was not good, and this horseface was likely an accomplice of the person who kidnapped Gianna. His inflammation has taken everyone's attention away. The time for cat transformation is almost here. The time limit of 5 minutes was maintained for 4 minutes. It seems that Neferim's power provides additional resistance. Zhaozhuiyuan.com. Currently, there are 2 options for Tyran Verdun. The first way is to wait until the cat-changing technique is over and jump out of Gianna's arms. Then give the guy behind you a hammer of punishment. I have 5 seconds to escape to the Mage Tower of Krasis. A great wizard in the Magic Tower, even the king of sorcerers, Gul'dan, can run as far as he can. The Magic Tower not only provides strong protection for its owner, but also provides a large amount of mana supply. And some great mages' mage towers often solidify many strange spells that pit and kill people, such as space locking that is difficult for individuals to release. There is a possibility of being rescued, and more importantly, he is not the target of the hijacker. Of course, I have to bet that this great mage is at home. My advantage is that no one would have thought that the hijacking target would hold a paladin who turned into a cat in their arms. But if he does this, Gianna will be kidnapped by this person. It is possible for oneself to escape safely. The second is to wait for the cat transformation spell to end, and then launch your own divine skill to strike hard, using a shield to attack the hijacker. This skill must hit. In this way, you can test his strength yourself. If you find him powerful, use Tyrion Verdun's blessing, activate the precision effect, and directly knock him unconscious with a large brick. Then take Gianna and run away. But this is already a small path. There are very few people, carrying a mop bottle that doesn't know magic yet. When this guy survives these 5 seconds, he is likely to be caught. And he is likely to have other accomplices. Also, he won't show mercy to himself. And if this guy dares to take hostages here, he must have exceptional strength or poor mental health. He has arranged for someone to cooperate with him. It's definitely not a mental illness. That only indicates that he is very dangerous. And the purpose is clear. What should I do?